guys, it's Tim from Game Twaddle, and today we're here to talk to you about Blood Rage. And joining me,
James Morey.
Alright, so Blood Rage plays from 2 to 4, unless you've got the 5th player expansion. It's by Eric Lang, who is now a superstar designer. Now, he had a bunch of games before this, but in my opinion, Blood Rage is kind of the game that catapulted him.
He made some waves with Chaos in the Old World,
Yes.
and then this really just took off.
Yeah, and he joined up with Simon for this one. It was a huge Kickstarter, went crazy. And yeah, he has never looked back, right? Every time he puts out a new game, I'm sure we'll talk about them in the future. Everybody goes nuts. There's always a lot to them. In my experience, they're all very solid. But anyway, so let's break it down. We're going to break it down into a couple of different categories. We're going to rate them from 1 to 5. And so the first one I like to do is accessibility. So how hard is this game to find? How hard is it to teach? What's your experience with that?
I don't own a copy. I've seen a couple of copies for sale in certain places, but this being a Kickstarter game, there's a lot of things that you might want to complete the set that you're not going to have access to. So the base game you can find, you can play, it's still a good experience, but exclusive expansions or minis or cards that just aren't around, difficult to track down.
Yeah, so I love this game. I backed it on Kickstarter. I got all the good stuff. But the accessibility is tough. Because if you play this game and you like it, if you go to a board game store and you buy it, which you should, spoiler alert, you are going to want the extra stuff. You're going to have to go to a secondary market or wait for another Kickstarter or maybe a convention to find it. So it kind of knocks it down from a 5 because it's not hard to find, I don't think, or at least it wasn't. Now this game is like 4 years old, so, but it's not as hard to find as some Kickstarters because it did get mass produced. Simon's everywhere. But I knock it down to a 4 because the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. I'm really glad I have it. If I had waited and bought this game, I'd be really mad that I don't have it. So yeah, that hurts it a little bit, but it's not a killer. It just is something worth mentioning that if you really like this game, you're really gonna want the extra things that come with the Kickstarter. So next, we're gonna talk about components. I'll let you go components first because I could go for half an hour.
Excellent. Across the board, I mean, Cool Mini or not, never lets you down when it comes to minis or anything else. And not just the minis are fantastic. They're very detailed, extremely well-crafted miniatures for the monsters and for the individual troops. Everything just looks phenomenal, pops off the board. The bases help make everything readable from a strategy perspective. Very easy to change the bases for them. The player mats, some people might not like they're flat, but I don't think they need to be big pieces of cardboard. This works for me, especially if you got a bunch of people around the table, you want something light that you can move around. The cards are great. That's going to lead into the gameplay portion, but I really like the card system.
I mean, the artwork though, right? The artwork's really nice on the card. It's all fits the theme, and everything.
Definitely.
And the minis though also, right? These things are durable. Yeah. There's some games I would be terrified to let people touch and move around. These have been dropped on the floor.
There's an anecdote about Eric Lang walking up to a table of people playing this at a convention, and he picks this mini up and says, "Look at this," and tosses it on the ground and steps on it. And they didn't know who he was, and they're like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, no, it's all of the pieces are very durable.
They're really well made, and everything James said, the artwork's great. It all makes sense. It all adds to the theme of the game. This is a very well-produced game. I wouldn't argue that it's overproduced because I think everything
serves its purpose.
Yes, and it contributes so much because this wouldn't be near as satisfying if these were like little cubes and these were slightly bigger cubes, right? Like it's so much fun. You're like, yeah, I've got all these warriors out, and then somebody puts out this giant ogre with a flaming sword. It's just satisfying, right? It's just satisfying to drop that guy on the table, and the way the board looks, if you were playing this at a convention, people will stop and go, oh, wait a minute.
Definitely.
Like, now, maybe not so much now because everybody knows Blood Rage, but they might still stop and look at it. Especially, I'm no good at painting, but especially if you've got somebody that's got a painted copy, holy cow. Like, get online and look at some pictures. They do marvels. And these miniatures just scream to be painted. That's why I put them in a box and hide them so I don't have to paint them.
Any cool mini or not game has fantastic to paint miniatures. They give you lots of nice accents to put on, and really it makes you look like you're a better painter than you are.
Yeah,
because the minis are so great.
It does. And I cheat. I just use like a army painter shade and just dunk them and try to even it out as best as I can. And that at least gives them a little bit of depth. I'm hoping one day to either get the nerve to try to paint my big monsters or get somebody to paint them for me, because they really deserve a good paint job, right? They really deserve to pop and be beautiful. So gameplay for me is a 5 out of 5.
Easily.
It's territory control, but the way that you battle, so you're going to draft cards, and the cards are going to kind of help you dictate what your strategy is going to be. So you might draft a lot of cards that are going to give you bonuses in fights. So, well, then you're going to want to start a lot of fights. You may draft cards that give you bonuses to lose fights. So you may get in a lot of fights just to lose, even though you're not gonna win. Or there's objective cards you can draft. There's upgrade cards for your units, or you can also, the monsters pop out in the cards. So when you decide to play that monster, you draft that monster, and then nobody knows maybe that you've got them, and then you can surprise people with them later. Or because of the way it works, you get a hand of cards. You're going to pick one and you're going to pass to the left. So maybe there's 2 monsters, and you got to figure out which one you want to keep and which one you don't mind giving away to somebody, because when you pass those cards, it may not come back around to you. So that aspect of the game is really exciting for me. It just, the territory control, you're sort of also doing some resource management and action selection, because you want to slow play your actions sometimes, because when you do actions, you're going to spend rage most of the time, and when you're out of rage, you're done, and you just kind of have to wait. So for me, gameplay, and sorry, I hogged probably all the fun things to say about it, but gameplay is a 5 out of 5. It's top notch.
Yeah, I would say this is the dudes on a map game.
Yes.
And like, there are so many great ones out there, but if you really just want to slam a figure down and have meaningful strategy behind it, this is it.
Well, and the dice aren't gonna mess you up, you know, like, because there's no dice.
Yeah, the card drafting is just right for what do I need to keep to make my strategy work, and then you get a new set of cards to work with, and you're given so many meaningful choices to make. The battle system is engaging and just tense and brutal. And
we've just got like 2 players, right? But imagine like 4 or 5 players, and most of the territories, you are limited to how many units you can have. But in the center, and the center is the one that everybody wants, you can have as many units as you want. So you're going to have huge battles, and somebody's got to lose.
Yep.
And sometimes everybody loses, and it's amazing because everybody's groaning. You know, it's sometimes you want to lose, so you're like secretly happy. But for a dudes on a map game, and that's really what this boils down to. There's so much to it, and there's so many different things to it, because it's okay to lose, or at the end of each era, there are going to Ragnarok is going to occur, and it is going to destroy one of the territories, and you score points for having your guys die gloriously in Ragnarok. So sometimes everybody's trying to get into those spaces, and and there's objective cards that will let you score points for how many of your figures are released from Valhalla. It's just amazing. I hadn't played anything quite like this when it came out, and I think that's why this really kind of made Eric Lang.
Yeah.
You know, he kept having like these flashes of brilliance, because I believe Dice Masters even came out before this, and so he was.
I think so.
So, you know, like gamers, hobby gamers knew who Eric Lang was, were aware of him, but this really, like, he strapped on a cape and like flew away after this, because he really, and he hasn't touched the ground since. But okay, so gameplay, we know it's great. How about value? So value, MSRP. How is this as far as a collection? So you don't have it in your collection, but where would you rate it?
It's a little more expensive, and it necessarily needs to be, just because of the quality of the minis will drive the price up for any game.
Yes.
I would say that it's worth it if you're looking for a mini game to scratch that, you know, territorial control combat game.
Yes.
You can't go wrong with just how quality all of the minis are in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so for me, the value is a 5. It is a little more expensive, kind of more along the lines of like a Fantasy Flight, you know, cost game. But it is because of the quality of miniatures and the quantity of miniatures. Even without the Kickstarter, you're still getting a ton of stuff.
4 full factions, different warriors. The different warriors have different models and sculpts.
Right.
All the leaders have these great intricate details. It's everything really pops.
So it's definitely worth it. And I would never get rid of my version, but if I ever did, I could at least get what I paid for it. And it's all, I mean, like I said, this game is over 4 years old. So for a game that old to still be valuable, it says something for what you got. If you like this kind of game, get your hands on a copy, because it's worth having. It's worth having. So interaction. Who's this game for? Who are you going to play this game with? A little bit about player interaction. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, the two big mechanics, card drafting and the combat that occurs whenever you try to raid a different territory. Explaining those two concepts to new gamers would be a little bit much.
Sure.
You would want them to be a little familiar with both of those, I believe, before introducing this.
Yeah.
It's not exactly Sushi Go when you're trying to pick cards for a strategy that works.
Sure.
And so if you really like combat games, people who are familiar with something other than Risk that you're looking for.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, like, this is, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5, because this is definitely going to be heavier than Risk, but it's way more satisfying.
Yes, definitely.
And because there are enough different mechanics, I mean, you're not taking this over to Grandma's house, unless she happens to have been a Viking, to play this with her. You know, this is not like a family fun kind of game. And there is some, it can be frustrating sometimes, right? Like, you really need a battle to go your way. You really need to be able to pillage this, and you're just like, oh no. Like,
you want to play with people who are comfortable losing a battle.
You have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Because you're going to.
Yes. And you also have to play with people that are comfortable if you're going to play aggressive.
Yep.
Because when I play games, it goes one of two ways. I'm either playing just because I want to play it and experience it, or with the right group of people, I'm playing a game to win. So if I'm playing the game to win, I'm going to play the game to win, right? And if you're playing with people that have a problem with that and they don't like, because if just because I'm going to make a move that hurts you and you might take it personally, you're not that kind of gamer, but let's say you were, you know, there's people that are like that, and they will get upset and they can be really frustrated, and it's like, this is not the game for you.
Yeah.
This is a game you kind of play to win. You can play it to experience it and learn it, but be cool with losing. But then like the second or third time you play and you really start to see how these cards work together and like some of the strategies,
it can really click.
It can really click and go for the throat. And this is a game that heavy gamers can enjoy because there's enough. There's enough here. And if you do have the expansions or some of the Kickstarter stuff, I mean, it really adds a lot of depth that to an already like moderately deep game. So it can really kind of keep this game on your table for a while. And I still get Blood Rage played. Like I play it several times a year. I got a ton of games. So sometimes it's hard to get games that I really like to the table because, you know, Cult of the New, right? Yeah. You get new games, you want to play the new games. So, but this is one that always kind of gets brought back out. So
people are willing to give it another go.
So So overall, this is a 5 out of 5 for me, but I was all in from the start. I came into this not really knowing Eric Lang, and now it's like you never look back, right? Because he knocked it out of the park. I've got some of his older games. I definitely have some of the newer games. But yeah, this is the game that introduced me to Eric Lang. This is the game that really, like, before even Zombicide, I played this. And this is a game that introduced me to CMON and sort of like their quality of game that they put out. And it's usually pretty consistent. So yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 for me, but I can get this to the table with the right group all the time.
Yeah, 5 out of 5 for me. I think that if you're trying to get the best game from any category just to have in your collection, bring out, get people to play and have a good time, this is the pick for me for combat strategy in kind of close encounter environment.
I agree 100%. This is a solid outing. If you can get your hands on a copy, do it. And if you're not sure, if you're put off by some of the prices of the Kickstarter stuff, get a regular copy and just play it and see if you like it. Because you can always find the other stuff. Go to conventions. People have it. You can find it if you want it. But anyways, so yeah, Blood Rage. We both love it. Thanks for watching. I've been Tim.
I'm James.
Have a great day. If you like what you saw,
if you want to see us make more content like this,
please hit that thumbs up.
Go ahead and subscribe.
Give us a share on social media.
Remember to ring that little bell. It really helps.
Be sure to check out our unboxing videos.
Don't forget we have reviews.
And also the news show.
Thanks for watching the Board Game Rundown.